My name is Johnny. I'm 28 years old and I work as a tour guide. Since my college days, I've been fluent in French and landed this job to utilize my skills. I accompany American tourists to French-speaking countries, interpreting local staff's words for them. The tourism company where I work encourages the employees to participate in workshops and training sessions in order to increase the number of languages they can speak. So, I'm constantly flying abroad for work while studying languages like Swedish and German. On my days off in the US, I mostly stay home and rest, as I'm often either at the office or overseas on business trips. All my colleagues and bosses are men, so I hardly meet any women. As I approach 30, my mom back home often says over the phone, "It's great you're working hard, but I want to see my grandkids. Start looking for someone and think about settling down soon." I'd love to find someone, but I'm always traveling overseas and can't find the time. I'd respond, making excuses to my worried mother. Will I be alone forever, always working till I retire? Deep down, I was getting anxious about love and marriage. One day, my company received requests from multiple American groups wanting guided tours to Sweden. While we frequently get group requests, it's rare to have several groups requesting guidance to the same destination simultaneously. Usually, the trips last from a week to 2, but this time, a month-long stay was necessary. Many colleagues found it challenging to stay a month due to family commitments and raising kids. Moreover, this tour included a beginner's trekking experience in Kebnekaise, Sweden. Although knowledge and experience in trekking were required, most of the trekking-experienced staff were out on other mountain tours. I'm well-versed in trekking and have a lot of knowledge in the area. So, it ended up being just me and my boss covering the multiple groups in Sweden for a month. A month is such a long time, and even preparation is a huge task. I wish I could have said I had family commitments and declined. With these thoughts, I reluctantly prepared for the guided tour. I wasn't enthusiastic about the troublesome one-month stay in Sweden. But little did I know, I'd meet the love of my life there. Once in Sweden, I was busy every day guiding group after group. Usually, the tours finish in a week or so, but as one group left, another was waiting. With back-to-back trekking tours, I had no time to rest or enjoy the scenery. Finally, the day to guide the last tour group arrived. Once I finish with this group, all I have to do is buy some souvenirs and head home. With that thought, I felt invigorated. I even found time to chat with the tourists and enjoy the breathtaking views of Kebnekaise that I hadn't noticed before. As I was guiding, feeling like one of the tourists, a local woman approached me. "Are you American? Are you on vacation?" She spoke English with a slight accent. Her name was Alice. She loved trekking and saunas and was curious about the hot springs in America. She was interested in traveling to America and could speak a bit of English. She occasionally spoke in English, but mostly in her native tongue. I connected with her as I interpreted her words for the group. In America, there are inns that also feature saunas and campgrounds. Please visit if you get a chance, I conveyed. Her eyes sparkled as she said, "Really? I'd love to." Even for casual conversation, she responded with a bright smile, her cobalt blue eyes shining. Seeing this, the tourists chimed in, "You should come to the US. We have great hot spring resorts. This one's my favorite. They serve delicious seafood." One showed pictures on her cell phone. Though our conversation was brief, her lovely smile left a deep impression on me. Her beautiful blonde hair, pure cobalt blue eyes, and charming dimples and freckles. She looked simply divine. Although I should be used to seeing people from abroad, she left a significant impact on me, as if a goddess appeared before me. I was dazed for a while after we parted, feeling electrified. I felt meeting her was truly like fate. However, no matter how fateful our encounter, it's meaningless if there's no hope for future progress. I didn't ask for her contact details, and I probably will never see her again. I thought so and returned home, but my feelings of unease lingered. If only I had asked for her phone number then, I could have contacted her and heard her voice again. Regretting such thoughts, I let out a pathetic sigh. I hated being in this constant state of hesitation, so I convinced myself that meeting her wasn't fate after all, just to appease my mind. Even if I could contact her, international calls are expensive, and it wouldn't last. Moreover, substantial travel expenses would prevent regular meetings. Even if by some chance I could date her, there's no way I could match her outstanding style. I am 5 feet 9 inches tall and naturally slim, weighing around 132 pounds. She is tall too, just a bit shorter than me. And even through her bulky mountaineering wear, her prominent features were evident, and her waist was slender. Compared to her well-proportioned figure, I am generally skinny and frail-looking. Even if I could date her, there is no way we would be compatible. Thinking only about the negatives, I tried hard to give up my love for her, but I just couldn't forget her. After returning to the States, one day during a break, my boss, noticing my demeanor, voiced his concern. "What's going on? You've been down lately." "There's nothing wrong, I'm fine." Caught off guard by his sudden question, I hurriedly feigned composure, but it seemed pointless. Smiling wryly and with a distant look, my boss said, "Cut it be. You can't forget the woman you met on our last Sweden tour." How did he know? I muttered in my mind, looking up at him, eyes wide. I meant it as a joke, but did I hit the nail on the head? The boss, wearing the same expression, looked at me curiously. The atmosphere became slightly awkward. Then, regaining composure, he smiled and patted my shoulder. She was beautiful and very cheerful. Even I was charmed. But she's a local tourist. Meeting her again would be difficult. I understand it's hard to forget, but you need to focus on work. Switch gears and keep pushing. Yes, I'll do my best. Giving a feeble response, I returned to my afternoon duties. Thinking back, since the Sweden tour was guided by just me and the boss, he must have observed everything. Blinded by the moment, I didn't realize such crucial details. I felt pathetic once again. Several days later, my boss made me an offer. "If you keep working with that gloomy face, customers will start to worry. Let's go drink and you can share your worries and complaints on our next day off." Saying so, he showed me a brochure of a seaside inn. It offers barbecue with fresh seafood, unlimited local drinks, and an unisex open-air bath with a sea view. My woes from a broken heart were completely overshadowed when my boss suggested a seaside trip with fantastic conditions. I said, "Thank you so much for inviting me to such a marvelous spa resort," and I bowed my head deeply to my boss in gratitude. "So it's settled. I'll contact you later about the details," he said and returned to the workplace with a smile. The boss attentively watches over his subordinates, is approachable, and shows casual consideration. He is kind and listens to work and private concerns without showing displeasure. Since joining the company, I've consulted with him about work and gone out for drinks a few times. However, this is the first time going on a private overnight trip on the weekend with him. Excited yet slightly tense, the day of the seaside trip arrived swiftly. At the meetup, it's the usual station where the boss and I meet for international tours. And on this day, the boss carried his usual large work bag. Wait, was today supposed to be a work day? The situation resembled work too closely. Without the expected tension, we headed to the station platform making light conversation. Soon after boarding the train, we switched to a bullet train. We ate our packed lunches, and the boss fell asleep. While I was playing games on my phone, I also became sleepy and woke up startled to the boss's voice, saying, "Hey, we've arrived." Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I got off and saw a familiar woman on the platform. You gotta be kidding. Why is she here? I mumbled to myself in surprise, and at the end of my gaze was the Swedish girl I secretly admired from work, standing on the platform. Beside me, my boss was also wide-eyed, saying, "Why is she here? This is the station closest to the famous hot springs town." A lot of tourists were gathered, and she seemed to disappear into the crowd. Drawn to her, I naturally walked forward until our eyes met. Then she ran over to me as soon as our eyes met. "It's been a long time. Why are you here?" My voice trembled with tension. Then, she suddenly blurted out something unexpected in a flustered manner. "I couldn't get a reservation at the hot spring inn. I have nowhere to stay tonight." I was perplexed, and she continued. "You telling me about American hot spring inns is what made me decide to come to America, which I've wanted to visit for a long time, but it seems the language barrier was an issue, and when I checked on the day, there were no reservations." Saying so, she held her head in distress. My boss looked at her phone screen and said with a smile, "It's the inn we're heading to. Would you like to join us and we can help you check in?" Then she smiled and said, "What a coincidence. Let's go together. How many days are you planning to stay?" "Just 1 night and 2 days. We also have the same 1 night and 2 days. Why not join me?" she suggested with a beaming smile. At her proactive response, my boss and I exchanged dry smiles. "I don't mind at all," muttered my boss. "You know, it's an unisex bath hot spring," I timidly told her. "Unisex bath, so we can bathe together." She seemed not to mind at all. "Well, I'll enjoy a leisurely solo trip. Don't worry about me, just enjoy your time with her." My boss patted my shoulder. What was supposed to be a recreational trip with my boss turned into a hot spring trip with the girl I secretly admired. When we arrived at the inn, my boss helped her check in and went to a single room, saying, "Do your best from here." He gave his reserved twin room to us and went into a room he booked on the day. When I finally understood, he had already locked his room. "Don't do as you please," I shouted in a low voice, but there was no sign of him coming out, just a text saying, "I'm rooting for you." When I secretly checked at the front desk, the only available room was the one he entered, and the only rooms available for her were ours. There was no sign of him coming out, and I felt sorry for making her worry. With my heart pounding, I entered the same room with her. "Let's go to the hot spring right away." Her smile made my heart pound even more. "Don't you mind bathing with a guy?" When I asked, her face turned red. I read that we wear bathing suits like swimwear, so I didn't mind. "Sorry, if you don't want to, you don't have to." Hearing that, I hastily stood up and said, "I don't mind." Fortunately, there was no one else when we went to the hot spring. She wore a bathing suit and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting," shyly, and soaked in the water. Seeing her, I hastily averted my eyes. Because of her tall and slender figure, the bathing suit didn't fit her well. With her superb style, there were too many risque scenes, and I didn't know where to look. I don't remember what we talked about after that. When I returned home, I was exhausted. But in my hand was a cute piece of memo paper. It was a memo with her contact information and address. This trip allowed me to finally get the contact information I wished for, and we began to exchange international calls and letters. All thanks to my thoughtful boss. I must have thanked my boss countless times afterward. No need for thanks. When you're down because of romantic troubles, the workplace atmosphere becomes gloomy. It seems your relationship with her is going well, so if you work hard with that spirit, I'm satisfied. My boss said that, and it's an inside story that I got more work for a while afterward. 32 years since I met her. I retired at the age of 60. My wife and our college-going daughter and son prepared a delicious feast to celebrate my retirement. I married her after a 2-year international romance. My wife decided to move to the United States upon our marriage. We were blessed with 2 adorable children and have had a happy married life. I cannot fully express my gratitude to my wife who, overcoming cultural and language differences, built a happy family with me. We've never seen Dad and Mom fight, have we? You really get along so well. What's the secret to a happy marriage? How did you two meet? One day, our children asked us these questions, and I found myself reminiscing about the early days when I met my wife. When I first spoke to your mom while mountain climbing in Sweden, for some reason, my whole body pulsed with excitement. Even after returning home, I couldn't forget her smile and gentle voice. When we unexpectedly met again, it felt like a dream. I shared the story of meeting my wife with our children, advising them to seek your destined encounter to share unwavering love throughout your life. Hearing my story, my wife blushed just like the first day we went to a hot spring in together. Her endearing charm and my love for her haven't changed after so many decades. I hope to continue living harmoniously with my wife while watching our children grow.